In the last video, we had done the preparation work for editing and deleting a record, which is part of your updating. Now, in this video, we will continue with those and we'll make sure that those two buttons work. Before we proceed, in the last video, if you remember, we had brought this one up, and if you see that the theme which we applied as dark on the toolbar has been changed for these controls, the back button and the title and the subtitle. That's because we did not say that this action bar is the default action bar of my project. The reason is it is overlaid on top of it, so it just follows its own pattern. So let's fix that by just writing one line of code, which is here. After the toolbar has been mapped, let's add one more line: set support action bar. That's a very important method to make sure that this toolbar, what you have put in the design, is the actual or the default action bar of my activity. So I'm going to say set support action bar to the toolbar which we have created programmatically. Now if you run the project, it will be a little bit different. I'm running the same project with only one extra line added here. Let's check how it looks like now. Now the overlaid action bar also follows the theme of the actual toolbar. Now it is proper. Let's go to this part first. Let's delete it. Deleting is easy because I'm going to write it in one place and I'm not going to retrieve anything. Just go and delete that register number which you have chosen. But if I just click on it and then if the user accidentally deletes any records, that will be a problem. So let's fix that by just adding a alert dialog by confirming with the user, are you sure you want to delete? Once he clicks on yes, then I will delete. Let's do it now. I'm on the action item clicked method. In that one, I'm going to delete. I'm not deleting this toast. Let it be there so that you know which register number are you manipulating right now. So now in this part, by the time you reach here, you already have the register number. You remember that from the last program. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an alert dialog, and if you click on yes, I'm going to delete it. If you click on no, I'm going to cancel this dialog. But please note, whether it is yes or no, I want that action mode to go away after your work is done. So let's do that all together. Let's start with the alert dialog. Let's quickly do this. Alert dialog dot builder. Let me call it as builder is equal to new alert dialog dot builder. I need to pass the context. I can't say this because I'm right now inside an anonymous class. So I'm just going to call main activity dot this. The context is ready. Builder dot set title. Let's put the title of this as confirm. And I'll concatenate or keep adding methods or chaining the methods to the builder object, because otherwise I'll have to put semicolon and call builder dot every time. So let me continue. Set message. I'll put the message as, are you sure you want to delete? The next one would be an icon. Let's put set icon. We already have two icons there. I'll use the delete icon. So I'll say r dot drawable dot ic underscore delete. I'll use that icon. And next one is two buttons, positive button and negative button. So let's write the negative button first because it's very simple. If he clicks on no, cancel the dialog. That's all. So I'm going to say set negative button. And what is the text? What I want to say is no. If he clicks on no, what do you want me to do? I'll press control space after new. And let's bring the dialog interface dot on click listener. If he clicks on no, I would like you to do two things. Number one, cancel this dialog which just popped up. So I have the dialog object, just cancel that. Second thing is the action mode which you have opened when you long pressed on a particular item, cancel that also. So I'm just going to call the dialog and then say cancel, first one. The action mode which we have created globally, let's call that and say finish, which means close that action mode which has been opened when you clicked on no. That's it. So the next part would be to create a positive button. So let's create positive button which says yes. And there I'll again put a dialog interface on click listener. If he clicks on yes, the first thing I would like to do is to find out which register number he has clicked and then pass that register number to my data access object to delete a particular student detail. Let's do that all in one shot. I'll say if you have the DAO, I have the DAO object already there. Let's open the connection and then say delete student detail. And in order to delete a student detail, I need a register number which I already have. I'll just say if this returns true, which means the student record has been deleted. I'll just put a toast saying student record deleted successfully. That's all. I'll not write anything else. I'll not write the else part because I assume that if the user is deleted, then you'll get it. Otherwise, there'll be an exception. We can go and check the exception. If you have clicked on yes, the record will be deleted. Very simple. After that deleting happens, what and all should be done in my program? Number one, I would like you to close that action mode either way. Whether it is clicked on yes or no, I want you to close the action mode. So let's call the action mode and say finish. First thing is done. The second thing is, if I leave it like this, my record will be deleted, but still will be visible in my list view because you have not refreshed it. So how do I do that? Just call recreate. In that case, the activity will be rebuilt, and in that case, again, new data would be mapped to the list view, which means the record which I just deleted will not be available. That's it. Now our alert dialog builder is ready. Let's create the alert dialog itself. So let me just name it as dialog is equal to use this builder object and create an alert dialog. The last line is dialog.show. Now with this, our work is done. Let's run the program and check the output. Now let me choose a particular record and let's click on delete. There should be an alert dialog. The toast first message came, you are going to delete 171730, and the dialog comes with confirm, are you sure you want to delete? I get two messages, yes or no. So let me click on no first and see what happens. In no, I've written two lines of code. Number one, this dialog will be cancelled and also this action mode will go off. It's done. Now let's try the next one. Let me click on delete. Toast comes, dialog comes. If I click on yes, the first thing is the student record will be deleted and the toast will come. Next, the action mode will be closed and the entire activity will be recreated once again. Let's try. Here, student record deleted successfully and I get only one record right now. It's there in the table. With this, the deleting part is working. Let's go to the editing part. Since we can't do the editing part also in the same page, we'll create another activity just for the editing purposes. Let's do that now. Let's create a new activity called edit activity. Once the edit activity has been added to our project, please understand what we want to do. When you click on a particular item, I want edit and delete menus to come. When you click on edit, I want you to go to the edit activity with the register number what the user has chosen. And once the register number is given, I can retrieve all the records of that student and display it in appropriate text boxes here in the design. And once the user can update whatever is required and then clicks on update, I want the data to be updated back to the database. So in order to do that, the design part is somewhat exactly similar to our insert activity. So instead of designing it from the scratch, all I'm going to do is take the code which is available in activity underscore insert and put it here and only modify some unique properties. Let's do that now. I'm going to the activity underscore insert.xml. If you see that the XML was like this, we have a constraint layout inside which I have a scroll view, and inside that I have a linear layout which has all these controls. So I'm going to take, I need all these things, and only difference between insert and edit would be the data will already be filled when edit activity gets opened up. Let's do that. I'll not do it in the design phase. Let's do it in the code phase. It will be much clearer. So I'm just going to the code part of it. Here there is a constraint layout inside which there is a scroll view. I wanted to copy the entire scroll view content till /scroll view. I'll copy that. I'll go to edit activity underscore edit.xml and I'll go to the code part here, and inside this constraint layout I'll paste that scroll view. Before I go to the design, let's change everything in the code itself. Scroll view, since the ID cannot be same, so I'm just going to put scroll view update. Instead of ET register number, I'm going to put TXT register number. So whatever has TXT in the prefix will be from update or edit activity. So let me just name, only the IDs will be different. So I'll just put TXT name. Next one is TXT course, and next one is TXT email. And the button what we have put has the word add student data. So I'll just change that word from add to update student data, and the button insert to BTN update. With this, our design part is ready. You can check it here. That it looks exactly same like insert, but only thing is the words are different and the keywords are different. Make sure that there is no error in the design, and then we'll go to the code part. So before I go to the edit activity, please understand that when you come to edit activity, you should also pass the register number what the user has chosen. Let's do that in the main activity first. I'll go to the main activity, come to IT edit case in the main activity on action item clicked. Here, let the toast be as it is. I'm just going to continue with the code. All I want you to do is go to edit activity, but also pass the register number what the user has chosen. So let's do that in simple way. It's just creating an intent. Let me create an intent called I is equal to new intent from main activity dot this to edit activity dot class. If I just say start activity, it will go to the next page or edit activity without even taking the data. I'll just say I dot put extra. I'll give a string name. I'll just put it as reg underscore number. Please note this is case sensitive. I need to use exactly the same thing in the next page also. Comma. What is the value? The value will come, which I've created globally as a register number. Done. Now I can say start activity with that intent. That's it. Now when you click on edit option in your main activity, I'll go to edit activity, but I'll have this register number in my intent. With this idea, let's go to the edit activity. In the edit activity, there are two sections of code. Number one, as soon as the activity starts, I want all the details of that register number what you chose to be retrieved and displayed on those text boxes automatically. And after that, let the user be allowed to update. And once he changes those data and clicks on update, I want to actually update. So first thing is retrieve single details. Next thing would be updated. Let's do the first part by getting that number from the user. So I'll create int register number. And how will I get that register number? I'll just say register number is equal to get intent dot get int extra. The name what I need to type here is that same name what I gave when I put extra, reg underscore number. And default value, if at all any errors happen, will be 0. Done. So I've got the register number onto this page. If I have the register number, I can retrieve all the details of a particular student. So let's do that now. In order to get all the details of that particular student, I need to map all the controls which are there in the design to the code. Let's do that. I'll just create text input, edit text. There are 4 things. So let's start with the code. First one is register number txt and name txt, course txt, and email txt. These are the text boxes which are available on the design. Now, in order to retrieve the details, I also require the DAO. So let me create an object of student DAO. Let me name it as DAO. Done. Now let's map all these things in our on create. The first thing is register number txt is equal to find view by id r.id.txt. Please note for insert, I had given it as et. So you'll get all these things. So here I'm going to say txt register number, first one. Like this, let's map remaining controls. Once we have mapped all the controls which are there in the design to the code, the next step would be to create an object of data access object. So let me say DAO is equal to new student DAO. Context is this class. Now all these things are ready. The next thing I'll be doing is I'll be creating 2 methods to just understand what 2 things which are happening in this edit activity is. Number one, retrieving one student's record and putting it in these controls. First one. Second one is when you click on update, I would like you to take all the values which are currently there in the text box and update it to the table. So how do I do that? Let me create 2 different methods. First method is public void fill data. Let me not pass anything. Let's just open that method. Inside this, first thing I need to do is get all the records of that particular student, what you have. Register number is globally kept, so I can call it here also. Let me first get all the details of that particular student. And if you remember, the retrieve student detail returns a cursor. So let me create an object of cursor. Let me name it as cursor is equal to. Let me call the data access object and then say open connection and then say get student detail of one student, which is that register number what the user has passed. So let's take that. And you've got all the details of that student onto that cursor. Work is done. Now all I need to do is iterate through this cursor and get the data and put it in those controls. So let's do that now. I cannot directly access a cursor. If you remember, I told that in the first PPT that cursor by default will be pointing to a non-existing or not a valid row. It will be -1. And I'm very sure that there is only one record returned because register number is a primary key. So I'll not write a while loop, but rather I'll just put an if cursor dot move to next. If the cursor can move to the next record, which means there is one data available, and I'm going to retrieve all the details of that one particular record. So now, once you retrieve that record, where do you want me to put it? I want you to put it in these controls which we have mapped. So let's start with the register number. So I'll just call the register number txt dot set text. From where will I get that register number of that student? You can also call cursor dot get, it's an ordered string, it's an integer, so let me just call get int. please note in JDBC, result set dot get int will return two parameters, two constructors were there. One is either you can pass the column's index or you can pass the column's name. Here you don't have two choices, you have only one choice, that index of the column. Right now it's a simple table, you have only 4 columns, which means I can say 0, 1, 2, 3. But what if I had 10, 15 records? It's very difficult to remember the column index, but rather I can remember the column names. I'll be doing 2 with column index, 2 with column name. I'll show you how it is done. So since I'm very sure that the register number is the first column, I can just put 0 and my work is done. But the problem here is it is set text and this returns an integer. So let me just concatenate that with double quotes. Done. My work here is done. This is one way of doing it. Get if you know the column index clearly. So let me do the second one. Name txt dot set text cursor dot get string. This is a string and what column index? Register number is first, second one is name, so I'll just put 1. This is another way, but this might not be effective if you have a lot of records. So the remaining 2 I'm going to use the next way, which is recommended way, force txt dot set text. I'll call the cursor and then say get string. I don't know the column index. What should I do? Call the cursor once again and then say get the column index of the column name. You have another method inside that. I know the column name. So I can call the column name by using the data access object and then say st underscore course. Done. Similarly, we can do the remaining part. The next one is email txt dot set text cursor dot get string. Column index I do not know, so I'll call the cursor and say get the column index of dao dot st underscore email. Done. So you have got all the records or the 4 records which are available in the database onto this text box. That's it. Once all your work is done, don't forget to close that connection which you have opened, and our work here is over. So now I just need to call this fill data on create. With this, our work is done. Let's check whether till this it is working or not. Now the program is running. Let me choose a particular student and then let me click on edit. Here, edit activity has opened up. All the details of those students is right now already there in the text box for me to start editing. So now I can just choose one particular control or one particular data and I can modify it and then click on update. Right now update won't work because I've not added listener nor have I written the code. So with this, our retrieval part is working. So before I run the project next time, I'll be adding a few more records for our understanding. But now if you see that I went to the next page, please note the action mode is still enabled. So how do I fix this? As soon as your start activity has been called, your activity has moved on to the next one. But before that, let's close saying action mode dot finish. But if you see, I get a pattern. Here also I need to write action mode dot finish. Here I'm writing action mode dot finish. Here also I'm writing the same thing. Why don't we fix all these things by writing action mode dot finish just after the switch case is done, before the return statement is done, so that either way, after your work is done, action mode will be closed. So I'm just going to cut this and put it before the return true is written, outside the switch case, not inside the switch case. I'll delete from everywhere else it is referred to, which means whatever you do, action mode will be closed. Edit or delete, either way. So this way our work is done. Let's check the program now. Let's choose a particular student and let me click on edit, and I'm going to the edit activity with all his records retrieved already for me. Now let me go back to my main activity. The action mode is closed. So we are ready with the editing first part. Now the next part is to actually update whatever is there in the text box. That's pretty simple because it is exactly similar to the insert activity what we had done. Let's do that now quickly. In the edit activity, I'm going to create one more method just to update data. So I'm just going to create a method called public void update data. But this time, let me map it in the design. So I'll just pass an object of view. So I'll map this in the design by saying on click, call this method. And in this method, what am I going to write? Let me first map it in the design, then we'll come back to the code. In the design part, let me just choose the button and go to its attributes and find the attribute called on click. I'll map it to the update data, which I just created. Now let's continue with the code. On update button being clicked, what am I supposed to do? Get whatever the user has entered, pass it to the data access object. That's it. So let's create those variables and we'll pass it to the data access object. So let's start with int register number is equal to, call the register number txt and then say dot get text dot toString. I know it will throw an error. Let's wrap it using integer.parseInt. The next one is string name is equal to, let's call that name txt dot get text dot toString. These don't require conversions. Anyway, let's continue. String course is equal to course txt dot get text dot toString. Last one is string email is equal to email txt dot get text dot toString. Done. Now you have all the 4 records. Now all you need to do is to pass this object, the student object with these records to the update part. Let's do that now. So I'm going to call student class just like how we did for the insert. I'm going to say s is equal to new student. I'm going to pass all these 4 parameters to the constructor of student class. Let's do that. I'm going to pass first one register number, second one is name of the student, third one is course of the student, I have that, and the last one is email. So you've got all these things. You have created a new object which has all the records what you have entered just now. Now all I need to do is call the data access object which I have already instantiated, and then say open connection, and then say update student detail with all these record what I'm just passing. That's it. If that returns true, your data has been updated successfully. So I'm just going to say toast student data updated successfully. That's it. And after that, we can just say close the data access object. And with this, our work is done. Let's check the program. The program is now running. I've added a few records just for understanding, and let me edit one of the records. Let me just choose one record. Let me click on edit, and you want to edit this particular number. I have got all these details retrieved and displayed for me for the editing purpose. And since I used a text input layout, you already see all these data available here. So I'm just going to change his name. Let's say I'll just update something about the name and course. Let me just click on update student data. Student data updated successfully. So our part is done. And let me go and check whether it is changed in the main activity also. Let me click on back button, and you can see that the data has been updated here, and it's retrieved because I've written this code on start. So when I clicked on back button, on start was called and the data got filled once again. So with this, our insert, update, delete, retrieve, all the operations are done. I'm going to add search functionality on this app, which means I right now don't have any options to search for the student. So what if I kept a small option here in this point and then say, when you click on it, I would like you to get a text box here to search for a particular student and get only his record, because this right now might hold the entire class's record. So if I would like to search for one student, how would I do it? Let's do it now. First, we'll do the database part, then we'll go to the design, and then we'll go back to the code. Since this code is about the database, I'm going to write it in the data access object. Here you have retrieve students and get student detail. All these things are there. Let me add one more method called public cursor search student. And you need to pass what is the name of the student which you're searching for. So I'll just pass a string which says student name. If you pass the student name, whatever name which matches or looks like this particular name, I'll be retrieving it. So please note, I'm not looking for an exact match. If it somewhat looks like that name, I want those names to be retrieved. I'm going to use a raw query here. So let's first build the query. I'll create string query is equal to, in that one, I'm going to say select star from, you have the table name with you. So I'll just call TBL name, where the student name, which also I have as a column, student name. Let me just use the word like. I hope you would have come across this in DBMS. I'm just using the word like, single quote, percentage, and like what? Whatever the use student name you have passed to me. And let me close it with percentage, single quote, and it is done. Now, if you see the query is somewhat like this. Select star from table name, where the student name is like whatever you have passed. So whatever name you get here, in this name, whatever is matching to this particular column will be retrieved. Since this method expects a cursor to be returned, let me write return. Let me call the database and then say raw query, because I wrote the query on my own. So I'm just going to pass that query. And the second thing, I don't have any selection arguments because I wrote everything on the query itself. I'm going to just put it as null. This is the only code which I'm going to write. And please note, if I would like to change this to search using register number, similar code, only thing is you'll change this name to its register number and stuff. That's it. So whichever column you would like to search for, put a method for that. That's it. This will be reusable. That's why I'm using it in data access object. Now the next part of the program is to create an option menu which would be on the app bar always. So for that, let me go back to my project, find a folder called menu. In that one, already we have an action menu. This is a contextual action menu. The one which I'm about to create will not be like when you click on or long press on, it will be always available for the entire app. So let me right click on the menu folder and add a new menu resource file. But this time, please name it as main_menu. Now that the menu is ready, I am just going to put one menu just for searching. So I'll just put a menu item inside my design. And once I put the menu item, I'm going to change a few properties. So first thing I'm going to say is the ID. I'm going to put it as IT search. The item, menu item, which is for searching purposes. Title, I'll change it into search. Icon, normally people use the icon of a magnifying glass. Let me create a vector asset. Let's search for a clip art which matches that magnifying glass. So I'll just put the word search. You can see that the magnifying glass is the first thing we get. So let me just choose that and click on OK. I'll name this as IC_search and let it be white in background because my app bar is always in primary color. Let's click on next and finish. Let me choose that icon which I just created and click on OK. And an icon is associated to that word called search. The next thing is I want that search to be always there, just like how it is there in WhatsApp. So let me just choose always and click on apply so that you will get a small search icon here. That's all from the design part. Now, how do I link this in the code? Let's go to the main activity. I'm right now in the main activity. Please note that I've just shrunk all those methods so that you see how many methods are actually there. The code might look bigger, but basically only 4 blocks of code we have written. One is in on create, the other one on start. I called this load data and we created a callback just to bring up that action mode, the contextual action bar. That's all. So this much we have already. Now what I would like to do is to call an options menu as soon as this program or this activity is inflated. So first I'm going to call on create options menu. Please look for this method and click on OK. And once it is there, before the word return goes inside that, just call get menu inflator and then say inflate. It requires 2 parameters. Number one, which menu to inflate and what type. So let me just call r.menu. The one which we just created is the main menu. Let me choose that and then say the menu which is passed to you. That's it. Let's run the program and see. After running this program, I'm getting a small icon here which has the search thing enabled here. But please note it does not react because we have not put that part of the code. All we have done so far is to map the design of the options menu to my program, irrespective of whether you have clicked on a particular thing or not. So, but when you now long press on a particular item, that's overridden with the action menu. What you see here is the main menu. Done. Now let's put functionalities here. So what I would like to do is when you click on this search icon, I would like a text box to come here in which I'll be searching for these students with a particular name. So I can just type some name here and it should be shortlisted, just like how you get it in WhatsApp contacts or status or calls. So let's try to implement that. Now, instead of us creating and edit text on top of that toolbar, we already have a view which helps you create a text box there on the toolbar. It's called as a search view. So before that, I need to know on top of which icon or which menu item do you want me to apply this search view on. So first, let's create an object of menu item and then let me name it as that search item which we just put in the code. How do I find that? Call the menu and then say find item. I need to pass the ID of the control. Let me just pass r.id.it search. Done. Now this object holds the reference to the menu which you just created with the magnifying glass. So now I'm going to create an object of search view. Please note search view which belongs to app_compat. And then let me just name it as search view is equal to. I'm going to call that search item and then say get the actions view. Now this would not be working well, so let's just cast it. Done. Now what you have done is you have told that this item, the menu item which we have found in the options menu, will be mapped to a search view. I'll show you how this changes, but before that let's just put one more property to that search view so that we see how it is manipulated, and then say set query hint. Please note this is the hint which will come on the text box. In WhatsApp it will just search with followed by 3 dots. Here you can put whatever you want because it's your app. I'll just say search student. I'll put 3 dots. After putting a query hint on the search view, the next step for us would be to make sure that there is a listener for that particular search view. So let's call search view dot set on query text listener. Please note the user has to type something there, and once he types, I would like the search view to react. So I'm just going to say put a listener on that query text listener. Let me just create a new anonymous class for that on query text listener. Please note that would return to you two simple methods. One is on query text submit. The other one is on query text change, which means there are two types of searches. One is that you type something and you click on enter, then it starts searching. That's one way. The other way is as you start typing, there should be searching. So which one do you like? Would you like to type the entire thing and then click on submit, then you want something to happen, or as you type the student name you want the list view to be filtered? I want as the user types, so I'm going to write the code here. I'm going to ignore this particular part. Please note what is passed to both of these methods is a string. The string is nothing but a completed sentence. Like for example, if you're searching for a student, you put the full student's name, then you click on enter. So it becomes a search query. But then when it comes to query text change, it is not a query itself, but rather, for example, if I search for a word called Akhil, A is first text. When I say next word, if I put AK, the AK becomes new text. The old text is A, new text is AK, and it goes on like this. So this keeps changing because as you type, this keeps passing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this text and pass it to whom? Who will be able to take care of the data which is coming to the program. This program, if you notice, has a person in the middle between list view as well as your data access object is the cursor adapter. So I'm just going to call the cursor adapter and then say get filter and then say filter with this particular string. What string? Whatever the user is typing in that text box, whatever is passed here. And also after that, tell the cursor adapter that the data set what you have might have changed. That's it. That's all is the code I need here. But please note, we have not told the cursor adapter that there is a filter. That we'll be doing next. Let's go to the cursor adapter where we have created it. I've created the cursor adapter on load data. If you notice here, the cursor adapter is ready in this particular part. The cursor adapter is ready in the load data method. So once the cursor adapter is ready, please note it is applied on a list view. So the two people who will be reacting to whatever is happening in your search would be the list view as well as the cursor adapter. So first let me start with the list view and add one more simple property saying that list view students, the one which we have put, I'll just say that this will be text filter enabled. Please note it will be enabled for filtering data in the list view. So I'm just going to say true. It will be enabled for text filters. First thing, I'm going to tell the cursor adapter that there will be a filter query applied on that cursor adapter. So I'll just say cursor adapter dot look for something which says set filter query provider. And within brackets, again, you need to pass an anonymous class. I'll just press new and control space. I'll press enter. And then now, if you see, there's a small method returned there. So it says cursor adapter, if you are putting a filter, what would be the new cursor? So I need to give the new cursor, but also see that there is something passed to the run query. So I need to pass whatever is come from the filter here, which means as you type, it will be registered here. I pass it to this filter, and whatever you type here will be passed to my constraint. So all I need to do right now is call the adapter and then apply this as the keyword for searching a student and return the new cursor. Let's do that now. I'll remove this word null. I'll call the data access object and then say open connection, and also I'll say search for a particular student. What is the name of the student will be passed as a constraint to this particular method. Convert that to a string because it's a character sequence. Now if you note, what happens is as you start typing in the search or the text box which has come on the toolbar, what would happen is as you type, new text will be generated and it will be passed to the cursor adapter, and the cursor adapter will receive that new text and apply to its filter. And then after that, you're saying cursor adapter to refresh it. So now let me go to the data where it is passed is here. As soon as you pass a filter, and this is the constraint, I am passing that constraint to the search student method, which is available in my data access object. That's all. Before we run our program, I wanted to notice that wherever the word return comes, make sure that the corresponding type has been passed. Now, since the search student returns a cursor, this would work properly. But if you notice the previous one, what we had written on query text change requires a boolean, and we have not changed the by default option which comes as return false. So if you do that, the search would not return anything because it says false. So whatever happened there would be omitted. So I've made it into return true. The second thing what I wanted to change is, please note that this part is a little bit tricky because you are calling a menu item and then you're saying that the menu item is going to be converted to a search view. From an item to a view is typecasted here, but then please note the item should also be told to which type of a view it is converted to, because by default it is just a view. I want to convert it into a search view. This code would throw an exception, or it will throw a null pointer exception, because the system would not be able to convert this action view directly. So in order to fix that, let's add one more small property to our menu. So come back to your main menu once. Normally I would like to do it in the design, but let me go to the code part here. You can see there is an item already there with 4 properties. Let me add one more property to it. Please just type app colon. You see there are some properties that are looking for here. Action view class, action provider class. I'm looking for what type of an action view class would you convert it into. So I'm just going to click on that and then say look for a word called search view. And you see there are 2 types of search view. I know which one to choose. App Compact, the Android X version. Done. Now the entire program is ready. If you run the program now and see, when you click on that search item, the search, IT search which you have put, the search view should pop up, which should have a hint called search student. And when you search something, that text will be passed here, and whatever text you pass here is passed as a filter to your cursor adapter, and your cursor adapter will run that query with the word which you just passed to search student, and whoever has that word will be returned to your new cursor. So let's run the program and check the output. Now that the program is running, you can see that there is a search icon. Let me click on it and see what happens. You get a search bar. In other words, the toolbar is replaced with a text box so that you can start searching. And please note, the one which you already see there is the hint what I've given here in search view. Query hint what we have given is come here, and these are automatically added. The close, if I click on it, it gets closed. All these things are automatically happening. Now let me go and search for some student. So let me specifically search for one which is not there available right now here. I'll just look for Bhaskar here. Only that control is now shortened. So when I remove the words, you see that the data is getting shortlisted. So if I put the word A, all students with A is here. So let me just shorten it down. I put AK, I got Akhil and Akanksha. The first 2 letters are AK. It doesn't matter whether it is there in the beginning or end, because I just put single quote percentage single quote, which means whatever this word, whatever, wherever it applies. Please note, even if it is in the middle of the sentence, it would work. For example, B. Bhaskar should match obviously, but Abhishek has B in the second word. But the word B is available in this word, so it's returned. Now the search is applied. Like this, you can also change that search to a course or a register number or whatever you would like. With this, our search part is done. The next thing in this video I'm going to show you is that, for example, if I open a new activity, the only way I can come back to my main activity is using the back button of my phone. But if you have noticed in some apps, the back button would be here. That is your design, which means you will programmatically give a way to go back to your previous activity. So let's do that now in the insert activity as well as in the edit activity. I'm right now in the insert activity. Please note there is no way in which you can go back to the previous activity unless you use the back button of your phone and destroy this activity and then go to the next activity. But then what if there is a small back button here, just like our web pages will create when you go from one page to another? Let's do that. You just need to put one line of code in the on create. So let me just do that. In the on create part, I am just going to say get support action bar and then say set display home as up enabled, which means going back previous page, enabled to true. That's enough to bring the back button. But please note that button would not react because you have just told show the button. I've said it's enabled, which means you will have a back button. Let's also do the other way of making it work. So I'll not touch the on create part. Let me write it. After on create, you'll be writing on options item selected. Inside this block, I'm going to write a simple switch case. Please note, I'm not going to have any other options here. Only one option is there. So even you can write a simple if condition like this. If item dot get item ID is equal to android dot r dot id dot home. Please note this is not what I created because system created it. It automatically assigns an ID also to it. So I'll just put if this is the case, what am I supposed to do? I'll just say close this activity. If I finish this activity, what happens is main activity will be visible because you came from main activity to insert activity. If I just say this dot finish, destroy this activity so that the main activity can be seen. Let's check how this works. Now that the program is running, let me call the insert activity. You see the insert activity right now has a back button enabled automatically. I did not drag and drop it, or neither did I do it in design. The only line of code I have written to bring that up is this line. Get support action bar and then put the display home as up enabled to true. I got this button. But the way it reacts is what I've written here on options item selected. If you click on that, that activity was destroyed. When that activity got destroyed, this activity automatically popped in front of you because it was running in the background. With this, that part is done. I want you to apply it to edit activity also. This is the edit activity. I'm going to write it here saying get support action bar, set display home as up enabled to true, which means there'll be a back button coming. Now, how will it react? Let me write another method on options items selected. What would you like me to do? I'll be writing the same thing what I've written in insert. So let me just copy paste there the same thing. If item dot get item ID is equal to android dot r dot id dot home, this dot finish. That's all. Let's check this also. Now that the program is running, let me see whether the edit activity is available. Let me click on this. I am right now in edit activity. You can see that there's a back button enabled automatically here. When I click on that, it goes back to my main page. With this, the back button also is done. Now, the entire program is somewhat complete here. In the next program, what we'll be doing is I'll use the same app to explain the next concept, which is called shared preferences. Thank you, guys.